The VapePassion Show, episode 51. In this episode, we're going to talk about the FDA clarifying that brick-and-mortar vape shops can provide basic service to customers. Is MasterCard really forcing new requirements on vape shops? Vape Master, the mobile game pissing off vapors everywhere. A 6-year-old girl almost dies from nicotine poisoning. DIYOrDieVaping.com releases their best of 2016 recipes list. And a new subscription box for DIY e-juice makers. Welcome back to the VapePassion Show. This is episode 51, and I'm recording this on Sunday, January 15th. If you're planning on buying a vape product anytime soon and you want to support this show, go to vapepassion.com/vendors and buy from one of those links. There are more than 50 popular vendors listed. I'll get a small commission for referring you, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. First, I want to apologize for my audio in last week's episode. I moved my mic down so that it wouldn't be in the camera, and I turned the gain up. And it turned out that the result was a lot of echo. I didn't catch that until I started my final editing process with my headphones on. So this week I moved the mic back up, and hopefully that fixes that echo that was in the last episode. So I want to start out the show by guessing a flavor. So if any of you are familiar with Vape Wild, they do a mystery flavor with every order. So they do this once a month. If you order anything from them, like a sample pack or anything like that, they'll send you this mystery flavor for free, and they don't tell you what it is until the next month. So this was December's flavor, and I haven't tried it yet. I haven't even smelled it, but I'm going to give it a shot and see what it's like. So let's get on with it. First, let's give it a smell. Off the smell, it smells kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit fruity, and it seems to have a bit of a chocolate smell to it, but it's really hard to tell. All right, so I have it loaded up here in the Goon RDA on top of the iStick 100 TC, 63 watts. That's a weird one. It does taste like some kind of chocolate, but it seems to have like just a little bit of a little hint of fruit, maybe even sort of like a rum flavor. All right, let's see how far off I am. So I'm going to go to vapewild.com and look that up. Okay, so I was way off. I'm looking at their blog post now. It's called Cold Toast. It's a breakfast flavor that has a smell of doughy toast, warm buttery syrup. That I can taste. I think that would be that rum flavor that I was getting. And slight powdered sugar sprinkle. All right, let me try it again now that I know what it is. Yeah, I still get the same thing. Maybe a little less chocolate, but I still get that rum flavor. It's an interesting flavor for sure. Not something I would ever buy, but it was a fun flavor to try out. All right, so let's jump into the topics. So first I want to talk about the FDA clarified that brick and mortar vape shops can provide basic service to their customers. So on Friday, January 13th, the FDA issued a statement explaining their current thoughts on a few issues that vape product retailers have been confused about since e-cigs were deemed as tobacco products last year. The FDA released a draft guidance designed to help retailers understand how the FDA interprets label requirements, rules pertaining to modifying current products, and what activities are allowed to take place inside of vape shops. First, let me clarify that this is draft guidance and is not finalized yet. It's also open to public comment until February 16th, 2017. So in this document, they do say that creating new tobacco products does require pre-market review by the FDA. The FDA has confirmed that this does include modifying any product, including e-liquids. This means that a vape shop can't add nicotine to an already prepared e-juice, for example. They can't change the e-juice at all. They've also confirmed that any person who owns or operates an establishment that manufactures, prepares, compounds, or processes a tobacco product must register their business with the FDA and annually by December 31st of every year. This also requires filing a list of all of the products that they handle that will be distributed commercially, including all labeling. And vape shops that manufacture e-juice are required to provide ingredient listings, report harmful and potentially harmful constituents, and submit health documents. The most interesting part of this report, though, is the FDA's comments about what vape shops are and aren't allowed to do or show customers. For example, refilling tanks or installing coils. So first, let's talk about what isn't allowed. Vape shops are not allowed to modify a product. They're not allowed to refill a closed system atomizer. They're not allowed to repair any parts, replace a part with a different part, including coils, or assemble a custom final product. Now let's talk about what vape shops are allowed to do. So a vape shop is allowed to refill an open take system as long as they don't modify anything beyond the pre-market order, or if one doesn't exist, beyond the original manufacturer's specifications. If a vape shop replaces coils in an atomizer and there are no specifications from the original manufacturer, the vape shop is not subject to the compliance policy. If a vape shop assembles a custom final product that is not consistent with the original manufacturer's specifications, it's not subject to compliance policy. And they also gave some examples of what does not qualify as a modification to a product. So they say that a vape shop is allowed to demonstrate and explain a product, including providing instruction on correct use of the product, as long as they do not assemble it. Vape shops are allowed to clean and maintain products, such as tightening screws, as long as they don't modify the product in any way. Vape shops are allowed to replace coils as long as they are identical coils with the same ohm and wattage ratings. That means a shop employee can replace the coil heads with the coils that the atomizer manufacturer sells specifically for that device, but a vape shop is not allowed to build custom coils and install them. Vape shops are allowed to assemble a product as long as the final product consists only of components that are packaged together in a single kit. An example of this would be a kit like the Smoke Alien mod and the Baby Beast tank, which are commonly packaged together. But if the customer purchased a Smoke Alien with a different tank that isn't normally packaged with the Alien device, that vape shop is not allowed to assemble it. So this is pretty big news. Like I mentioned earlier, this is only a draft right now, but it gives us a pretty good idea of how the FDA intends to enforce requirements of various aspects of what goes on in vape shops. Okay, moving on to the next topic. So is MasterCard really forcing new requirements on vape shops? Back in November, there was a lot of news that MasterCard was sending emails out to vape shops, which explained that due to the recent FDA deeming regulations that classified vape products as tobacco, MasterCard would now also be imposing the same requirements that they do of tobacco on vape products. This meant requiring physical age verifications in-store and online, registering with MasterCard for a $500 annual fee, adding health warnings to their websites, having verified accreditation of full compliance of tobacco laws, and adult signatures upon delivery of the products. The original source of this information was from eliquiddepot.com, who are an agent and reseller of merchant service providers. They were the first to release this information, and I believe the only people to release this information other than other people who reported on what they released. Well, according to an email sent out by Lightning Vapes a couple of days ago, MasterCard is not setting these new requirements. Lightning Vapes is claiming that merchant service providers or credit card processing companies are lying to customers by trying to shift the blame onto MasterCard when it's actually the merchant service providers setting these requirements to cover their butts. So Lightning Vapes, they got in touch with Best Rate Merchant Services to ask them about this. Best Rate has confirmed that they are not an agent, but actually an MSP, a merchant service provider, sponsored by Harris BMO Bank. They know what these regulations and these rules are. So Best Rate, they set up Lightning Vapes with a new account, and they will now continue to accept MasterCard orders without the previously mentioned requirements on vape products. And many other vendors have chimed in on this and have stated that they haven't been able to find any information from MasterCard about these new requirements either, and they're actually unsure of how true eLiquid Depot's claims are. The one exception is that $500 registration fee. That seems to be agreed upon by everyone and is mentioned in MasterCard's latest merchant rules. According to the guy at eLiquid Depot, he has contacted BankCard USA, EVO, Humboldt, and Sage, who all say all of the requirements are true. I went back to eLiquid Depot's original article about this, and I see that on January 13th, they updated the post with some additional information. So they say now that MasterCard is leaving enforcement up to the acquiring banks. Acquiring banks will not do sting operations on merchants, basically saying that this is not enforceable. MasterCard is doing this to avoid liability if a vendor ships to a minor, and that some MSPs are saying this is not required, such as Best Rate, so that they can get more business from vape shops who want to use MasterCard, but they're saying that it is required, it just won't be enforced. So what does this all mean? Honestly, I have no idea. It sounds like eLiquid Depot might be right, or maybe they've been given some information that isn't entirely accurate, or maybe it's misunderstood. But basically, even if it is all true, it sounds like the signature on delivery and some of those other requirements are not enforceable. So if you own a vape shop, you might want to shop around for a merchant service provider who will not force those requirements on your shop and will allow you to continue using MasterCard. But like I always say when I talk about information like this, if you own a vape shop, talk to an expert about your options. Don't take my word for it. All right, now let's talk about a new game that everyone's talking about lately. It's called Vape Master. The point of the game is to fill the room with vapor until everyone in the room dies. You have to do this without getting caught by a security guard and before your battery runs out. You hold your finger on the screen to hit your vape, and you release your finger before you hit it so long that you cough. After completing a level, you earn cash that can be spent on things like new haircuts, facial hairstyles, accessories, atomizers, and mods. With higher powered setups, you can get more vapor and more battery life. I've actually seen quite a few mentions of this game within the vape community, and everyone seems to be pretty upset about it, mostly for portraying vaping in such a negative way, particularly for showing vapor killing people, when in reality it's a life-saving product. People are also a little mad about depicting vapors as hipster jerks who are rude and vaping where they shouldn't. So I've downloaded and played this game, and I can see why vapors would be upset. But I think the biggest issue here is that the vapor is killing the people around you. If it wasn't for that, people probably wouldn't care all that much about it. I think vapors can usually take being poked fun at, but when you have a game out there that non-vapors are playing and possibly believing that vapor is dangerous, that's the problem. It's also a little bit upsetting that the people who created this game know vaping pretty well. In fact, the developer commented on the game on toucharcade.com, where he mentions that he has been vaping for more than 2 years and created this game with some of his friends after being upset that nobody has created a game about vaping yet. He says that he created it just to make people smile. So it's surprising that the game concept is designed the way it is. Why would they make the goal of the game to blow vapor into a room to kill people? I don't feel like that they designed the game specifically to show vaping in such a bad way, but they obviously didn't think the whole concept through before publishing it. Other than that though, the game does seem to be produced pretty well. It has funny graphics and a quality soundtrack if you like party hip hop and dubstep. The game isn't really something that you'd play longer than 10 minutes before you uninstall it. It's just too repetitive, but this game actually could have been kind of fun with a few tweaks, even while still making fun of vape culture. It's just too bad that it went the direction they did with it. Okay, and in some other news, a report just came out saying that a 6-year-old girl almost died from nicotine poisoning. So, in a case of very poor parenting, a 6-year-old girl in Oregon nearly died from nicotine poisoning. I don't know when this incident actually happened, but it was recently reported as a study in the Annals of Emergency Medicine journal and is now making the rounds in the media. So the 6-year-old girl, she had previously sprained her ankle and was taking liquid ibuprofen for her pain. And at some point, this girl's pain flared up and her father grabbed the bottle of liquid ibuprofen and gave her a 10 milliliter dose. Unfortunately, what he didn't know was that the medicine had already run out, and the child's mother had already repurposed the bottle to store her own DIY liquid nicotine mixture. The little girl immediately complained of a burning sensation in her mouth and throat, then lost consciousness and went into convulsions, at which point the father tasted the ibuprofen and realized that it was actually nicotine. He then immediately called 911. The girl experienced sweating, muscle twitching, tremors, and vomiting in the emergency room. She was then treated with activated charcoal to get that nicotine out and placed on a ventilator. She did make it out fine. The report says that she ingested 700 milligrams of nicotine and her blood nicotine level was 348 nanograms per milliliter. Now, by comparison, a typical cigarette would result in 12 to 54 nanograms per milliliter of blood nicotine levels. So she had quite a bit of nicotine in her blood. As you would expect, the media is reporting this story along with other cautionary details about the dangers of e-cigarette nicotine poisoning, and also that recent Surgeon General's report calling electronic cigarettes a public health concern, when in reality this is simply a case of extreme stupidity of the child's mother. Okay, now let's talk a little DIY. So DIY-or-DieVaping.com released their best of 2016 recipes list. I've looked at all of these recipes and they all sound amazing, of course, since they are rated as the best recipes of the year. So let's go through them really quick. Here's the top 5 in order of their DIY or die rating. So in 5th place is Grack Juice. It's a sweet grape, fruity, and refreshing flavor. Number 4 is Simply Cannoli, a custard, cheesecake, and Vienna cream cannoli. Number 3 is Sugar Cookies and Cream. It's just like it sounds, sugar cookies and Vienna cream with a hint of hazelnut. Number 2 is Dinner Lady, a lemon tart remix. And this is a remix of the popular lemon tart recipe from Dinner Lady. And number 1 is Pebbles. It's a Fruity Pebbles with milk flavor. There were also 3 honorable mentions. Sakura Sweets, which is a unique sweet and floral flavor. And something to note about this one is it does have 2 flavors which you'll probably only ever use in this e-juice, Cherry Blossom and Hibiscus, so keep that in mind if you do buy those ingredients. Next runner-up is Green Tea Kit Kat, and this is based on the popular matcha green tea Kit Kat bars that are really popular in Japan. And finally, Cliché, which is a new take on strawberries and cream. Now I just want to point out that my descriptions of these recipes are very basic and don't include many of the more intricate details that these flavors have. I just wanted to give you all a quick description to give you an idea if it's a recipe that you want to make. And I've looked at the ingredient list for all of these recipes, and the top 5 are definitely more for advanced mixers. Well, they contain a lot of ingredients anyway, so they might take a little bit more time to make. The easiest in the top 5 would be Simply Cannoli with 6 ingredients. And the 3 honorable mentions, they have 5 or less ingredients. Green Tea Kit Kat has 4. So if you're still a beginner mixer, those might be more appealing to you. All right, and one more thing I want to mention to the DIYers out there. Alltheflavors.com, the popular DIY e-juice community, has announced a new subscription box called the Awesome Box, which is a monthly subscription service that delivers a box full of flavor concentrates to your door every month. They say that this box will have awesome flavors, familiar flavors that are commonly used, and also some hard-to-get concentrates. These boxes are put together based on community feedback and communications happening between other DIYers. So included with these boxes, you'll also get monthly recipes so that you know that you can make something with everything that you get. And there are 2 options, Awesome and Premium. So the Awesome subscription includes everything I mentioned for $24.99 per month. The Premium subscription includes twice the size and variation of products and also includes add-ons like shirts, mixing gear, and other things. The Premium box costs $39.99 per month. And both subscriptions also include an All the Flavors Pro membership to the site, so you get full access to recipes, you get vendor discounts, and other special features and offers. So this is really cool. If you like to DIY, this sounds like something I think you'd like. Even if you're new to DIY, or if DIY is something you've been considering doing, this could be a great place to start. But keep in mind that you still need to buy mixing equipment like bottles, syringes, PGVG, and nicotine if you use nicotine. But if you have all that stuff, this box will keep you going with fun new recipes every month. Okay, that's all I have for this week. You'll find the show notes for this episode on VapePassion.com. If you want to support the show, consider donating to my Patreon page at patreon.com/VapePassion. You can follow me on Twitter at VapePassion, and I'm also on Facebook if you want to leave me a comment. If you like this weekly show, please consider giving me a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. You can also subscribe to the podcast version of the show on either iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. If you'd like to get notifications of new reviews or of the show, you can sign up to receive my weekly email on VapePassion.com. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me anytime at alex@VapePassion.com. All right, I'll see you next week.